We will learn from a TAS lesson with Rabash. We will read from the study of the 10 Sefirot, part 4. In the questions and answers on the meaning of topics, answer number 101. In addition to the subtitles, there is a complete transcript of the lesson for each friend who wants to follow. Please.
Now the question, why reflected light does expand below taboo? He adds more. And there's also an illumination there, the illumination of Chokhmah, and also illumination from direct light. So he says, since I say I do not want to receive, she wants to give back the light. Why? She wants equivalence of form. And by this, he says that the light of direct light illuminates, which is above taboo, and illuminates there the illumination below. Therefore, by saying that it gives the reflected light, it's considered 10 concluding Sefirot. There are two discernments here. Who gives back the light, called reflected light, which is called Chasadim, and also illuminates the force of adhesion, a dvikut, an illumination of light from above taboo, and also some illumination, which is called light of Chasadim, with the illumination of Chokhmah. We learn that each and every Sefirah, there is from taboo upwards 10 Sefirot. Upon each phase, it performs a siyum, an ending, we learn. What is the meaning here? It means 10, I'm saying 10 Sefirot. We say Keter, I receive only as much as I can, no more. Chokhmah, as much as I can, no more, and no more. Below the taboo, there are no places. The student was asking 20% to receive 80%. In every phase, look, in every phase that does not want to receive anymore. Listen, so you need to distinguish the 10 endings, the 10 siyumim, 10 discernments, the upper receives. 10 endings of what she received above, for each and every phase, it received in order to bestow and not to receive. What am I talking about? I'm talking about what I received, about the phase that received, the part that it received, and the part it did not receive. Okay, we have 10, and she received. This is the whole difference. You could say this about each and every Sefirah.
What is the difference between that?
Above, there are 10 Sefirot. In the Rosh. The Malchut said, Malchut of Rosh, in each and every phase, a part that I receive from him in order to bestow, I receive. And the part from him that I can receive not in order to bestow, I do not receive. Therefore, there are two parts. That which I receive in order to bestow is called above taboo. And the two parts, what I can receive in order to receive, I do not receive. Therefore, there are 10 endings, 10 siyums. Upon what do I perform a siyum? Upon in each and every Sefirah. What it received, 20% from each Sefirah, then 80% is refined and from each and every Sefirah. It turns out that there's nothing new here. What was in the Rosh of 10 Sefirot, part yes, part no. Part of the 10 Sefirot is called Toch, and part not called Sof. Why not? Doesn't he want? He wants equivalence of form, which is called dvikut, adhesion. So we say, in every place there's an illumination, there is the place from which the illumination is illuminated. And the true light is what is needed to illuminate an internality, and it remains inside the surrounding light. And this is what you should ask. He asks, who receives the surrounding light and who receives the internal light? It's from the internal light that it can give you. What are you lacking that you want to hear from me. What's the meaning below taboo? Start listening. Start hearing. What is below taboo? That I do not want to receive more than I receive. So they say, since there's a part that I do not want to receive anymore, which is called below the taboo, as far as that's concerned, there's also illumination. But we need to know what is below taboo first. What is siyum, you need to think. What is siyum, or ending? This you received and this you didn't. So you need, what do you need? What are you lacking to think of? What is the state in which I don't want to receive anymore? What is this state of the spirit, high spirit, or mood? It's a reality or not a reality? Is it negative?
But how much?
Yeah, but don't run. It means here that below taboo there's a reality which says that I do not want to receive. This is the time that is in such a state that I simply say that I don't want to receive anymore. So there is a state that it receives, and there's a state that says no more. As long as she says no more, and it wants to not receive anymore, in those vessels there is a certain illumination, meaning it does not want to receive. This we need to think. Taboo above and from taboo below. You say this in words, but below taboo, think first. We always want to receive. Who wants? Does not want.
I'm asking, what does it mean?
Whoever wants to receive or not receive pleasure. Okay, we need to first understand and think a little bit, what's the meaning above taboo and below taboo? So I said, to think of what is in Malchut of Rosh. What is in Malchut of Rosh? The desire to receive is called phase 4. Extended the light, and since there was a restriction, you're not allowed to receive in order to receive. It was a calculation was made upon Malchut of Rosh, how many vessels, how many percentage she could receive, that she will receive. And the rest, no. So I need here to make two realities. One reality, what I can receive, what parts from phase 4 you can aim in order to bestow. And there are parts from phase 4 that could not aim me in order to bestow. Only one. He says that he will not receive. There will be a restriction upon them. So, in everything we speak from a reality. There's one reality in which he can aim in order to bestow. About that he says, I want to receive Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, all 10 Sefirot. I want to receive them in order to be able to bestow. But a certain part, and a certain part that it cannot receive them in order to bestow, where it will be only phase 4 alone, receiving in order to receive. This is called below taboo. But this is Kedusha, so he says that I don't want to receive. They say that state in which he says that he doesn't want to receive, it's not dry. Here too there is illumination. And where, from what place does the illumination come from? From the place it received in order to bestow. It illuminates there in those vessels where you cannot receive them, and in order to name them in order to bestow. So what does he do there? A restriction, and it illuminates there also illumination. It is called, what is it called? Below taboo. He wants to give back the light. He doesn't want to receive it. This is called chesed, equivalence of form. And in equivalence of form, illumination illuminates from the place that it does illuminate there. That's what's written there. When the screen was refined, so it cannot receive anything, only he sustains the restriction. The records remain in the vessels from what was not there before. And all that was, as an example, above the taboo, where there was direct light, the light of Chokhmah there, records of light of Chokhmah remain. Below taboo, where there was only the light of Chasadim with the illumination of Chokhmah, the records with light of Chasadim, the illumination of Chokhmah remained with records. There are two things here. There's the desire to receive, and there's the abundance. No more. Only this abundance he wants to receive in order to bestow. They say Malchut V'Rosh was in potential, one phase. Malchut of Toch, called Tabur, also one phase. She receives in order to bestow. From her downwards, it does not want to receive. Why? So it will be in order to receive. One phase she raised to 10 Sefirot. One phase. They say that Malchut, as Tabu, below it, from Tabu below, is called that it does not want to receive. Why? If she receives, it will be in order to receive, and she doesn't want to receive. If so, Malchut of Toch is like one phase. It's all correct since there are 10 Sefirot. Hence, it expands Malchut of Tabu until Siyun Raglim. Only think, this is only one phase. In this one phase, it has negative. Also, it wants to receive. It gives the light because of the equivalence of form. Hence, also illumination illuminates there. Then, therefore, he did not say, why are there 10 Sefirot? Only one Siyum. And like he says, if he receives one light, in this light we distinguish 10 discernments and one siyum. We note 10 endings. But learn this on one phase, it's easier to understand. Only what it receives in order to bestow reflected light. What is reflected light? What she does not want to receive. Because she cannot aim it in order to bestow.
Question 111. Why does Malchut remain without light in the second expansion? Why not? We learn that there is phase 4, there's the level of Keter. In Parsuf Ab, which is called, is asking, what is the question? In the second expansion, in Parsuf Ab, Malchut remained without light. What is the question? Phase 4 was lost. Phase 4 has no light. There's no light. So what is the question? Initially, phase 4 had light. Now, there's no 3. Phase 4 has no light. What is this question? What is the answer? It is because of the inverse relation between vessels and lights. As all the lacks in the Parsuf touch the vessels in the phase below them, so they touch the lights in the phase above them. When the lowest vessel is absent, the highest light is therefore also absent. If the two lowest vessels are absent, it causes the absence of the two highest lights as well. Thus, the absence of light from the vessel of Malchut indicates that the light of Keter is absent among the lights of the Partzuf, and vice versa. The absence of light in the two lowest vessels, Zeranpin and Malchut, indicates the absence of the two lights, Keter and Chochmah, the two highest lights. This is how it always is. The reason is simple. The clothing of lights in the vessels is measured by the coarseness in the screen that makes a coupling with the upper light. Thus, when the screen rises from Malchut to Zeranpin, which is phase 3, and the coupling takes place in phase 3, then Malchut remains without light, because the place of the coupling rose to Zeranpin. It also lacks the light of Keter, since there is only the level of Chochmah emerges in the screen from the phase of Zeranpin. If the place of the coupling rises to phase 2, Bina, the vessel of Zeranpin 2 remains without light. And you now have the two lowest vessels without light. Correspondingly, the two highest lights, the lights of Keter and the light of Chochmah, will be absent, since only the level of Bina emerges from a coupling that is done on the screen of phase 2, and it is always so. Since there was a coupling on phase 3, therefore Malchut doesn't have. Why does he need to elaborate so much? Some ask this. If we say that the level of Keter is lacking in Ab, called Chochmah, then Chochmah is absent, so Keter is absent. So the question is, why does Malchut have no light? That's the question. If you say it's Ab, it's called Chochmah, so what's missing? Keter. Why are you saying that Malchut is missing? The answer to this is that if Keter is missing, it's a sign that Malchut is missing. Why? Because of the inverse relation between vessels and lights. We find that the question is, if I say that it is Ab, what is Ab? Keter is absent. Why do we suddenly say that Malchut is absent? The answer that he so elaborately shows us is that if the light of Keter is missing, know that the light of Malchut is missing. Why? Because of the inverse relation. We learn that the light of Chochmah comes in the vessel of Keter. Who was it? The vessel that once had Keter now has Chochmah. You find that in the vessel that previously had the light of Malchut, now has no merit. What does she have? The light of Yesod. The light of Malchut in the vessel of Yesod. This is in distinguishing the old vessels, because every coupling that is done emerges in 10 Sefirot. There's its own 10 Sefirot. So Ab has Keter too, but Keter of Chochmah. What I'm saying is, the light of Chochmah in the vessel of Keter means old vessels. He asks, we learned 1:12. Why does Keter enter last and departs first? The light of Keter that comes to the vessel of Keter does not come in the end. When the departure begins, the light of Keter departs first. Malchut, on the contrary, first comes the light of Malchut, and finally the light of Malchut departs. Answer. Because the screen of phase 4 was refined for the first time, and thus the level of Keter instantly disappeared. However, the level of Malchut emerged by the absence of the Malchut to the place of Keter, which is why she is the last to leave. What is he saying here? In question 112, he asks this. Why does Keter enter last and depart first? And Malchut is the opposite. What is his answer? Why does it enter last? 112. What did we learn? It's all in 112. Because the screen of phase 4 was refined first. Hence, the level of Keter immediately disappears. But he doesn't say here that it enters last. Rav said. Rabash enters last. Yes, everything. Because the screen of phase 4 was refined first. And thus the level of Keter instantly disappears. It's also better that it emerges first. Student, half-half. Rabash. We learned this in the Patzuf Ta'amim that emerged first. There is a rule. The Ari says, everyone came out in the phase of Nefesh. First comes the light of Malchut to the vessel of Keter. Then in the phase of Nefesh. Then to the vessel of Keter, a phase of Nefesh. And he says the light that comes in once, it depends on the equivalence of form with the vessel. This is why we learn that lights always come in the vessel of Keter. Afterwards, the light that was in the vessel of Keter goes down. You find that when the light of Chokhmah comes, the light of Chokhmah descends in the vessel of Keter, and the light of Bina in the vessel of Chokhmah, and the light of Zeranpin in the vessel of Bina, and the light of Malchut in the vessel of Zeranpin. In the end comes the light of Yechidah down to Malchut, which is regarded as phase 4, and then there's the level of Keter. You find that when does the light of Yechidah comes into the vessel of Keter? In the end. When does the light of Malchut comes into the vessel of Keter? In the beginning. So what do we see from here? Malchut emerged first, went out first. And Keter, with Keter last. When phase 4 was refined, the light of Keter disappeared, departed. You find that Keter, which came out last, departed first. Afterwards, he says, the refinement of the screen until the light of Malchut departed completely, that was in the end. You find that Keter departed in the refinement of phase 4. And the light of Malchut, which departed from all the degrees, that was in the refinement of in the coarseness of Keter, which is called the light of Malchut. Clear?